Very good morning, students. Today we are going to see a new topic called conscious sedation. To start with introduction, periodontal and implant surgery should be performed painlessly and with minimal or no apprehension. The patient should be assured of this at the outset and throughout the procedure. The most reliable means of providing painless surgery is only with effective administration of local anesthesia. However, the patients who are apprehensive may require treatment under mild or moderate sedation. The use of sedation can help make patient more comfortable during periodontal and implant surgery, especially when procedure is continued for 2 hours or more. There are various routes of administration for sedation agents. It can be inhalation, oral, intramuscular, and intravenous. The specific agents and modality of administration are based on desired level of sedation, anticipated length of the procedure, overall condition of the patient, and expert training of the clinician and the staff. This chapter reviews rationale, definitions, techniques, and guidelines for the use of mild to moderate conscious sedation in the dental office for periodontal and implant surgical procedures. Coming to rationale, interestingly, there appears to be a close relationship between anxiety and postoperative pain. In fact, preoperative anxiety may be considered a predictor for postoperative pain. In addition, high levels of stress or anxiety can affect the wound healing after the periodontal treatment. The mechanism behind this is when there is an increase in the stress, there is a downregulation of the immune system that affects the wound healing of the periodontal treatment. The sedation can be given for young patient. It is called as pediatric sedation. That is sedation that is given for the adult patients is called adult sedation. Children age 12 and under can become moderately sedated despite an intended level of minimal sedation. The use of preoperative sedatives for children for ages 12 and under, except in extraordinary situation, must be avoided because the risk of unobserved respiratory obstruction during transport by untrained individuals. There are various types of sedation. That is, sedation can be mild sedation or minimal sedation, moderate sedation, deep sedation, and general anesthesia. To start with minimal sedation is defined as the minimally depressed level of consciousness produced by a pharmacological method that retains the patient's ability to independently and continuously maintain an airway and to respond normally to tactile stimulation and verbal command. This minimal sedation is also known as angiolysis. This is a very important short answer. You can expect in university exam as write a short note on angiolysis. It's nothing but minimal sedation. Next, we are going to see some of the terminologies. Start with MRD. MRD is nothing but maximum recommended dose. It is the maximum Food and Drug Administration recommended dose of a drug as printed in FDA approved labeling for unmonitored home use. Incremental dosing. Incremental dosing is the administration of multiple doses of a drug until a desired effect is reached. This is another very important you can expect in short answer. Next, we have to see about what is supplemental dosing. This is another important short answer. During minimal sedation, supplemental dosing is a single additional dose of a sedative drug being used that may be necessary for prolonged procedure. The supplemental dose should not exceed 1/2 of the initial total dose and should not be administered until the dentist has determined that clinical half-life of the initial dose has passed. The total aggregate dose must not exceed 1.5 times the MRD on the day of treatment. Next is moderate sedation. Moderate sedation is a drug-induced depression of consciousness during which the patient responds purposefully to verbal commands, either alone or accompanied by light tactile stimulation. No interventions are required to maintain a patent airway and spontaneous ventilations are adequate. Cardiovascular function is usually maintained. In accord with this particular definition, the drugs or the technique used should carry a margin of safety wide enough to render unintended loss of consciousness unlikely. Repeated dosing of an agent before the effects of previous dosing can be fully appreciated may result in greater alteration of the state of consciousness, that is intent of the dentist. Further, a patient whose only response is reflex withdrawal from the painful stimulus is not considered to be in a state of moderate sedation. Next, we have to see what is titration. Titration is the administration of incremental dose of a drug until a desired effect is reached. The knowledge of each drug's time of onset, peak response, and duration of action is essential to avoid over sedation. The concept of titration to effect is critical for patient safety. Thus, it is important to know whether the previous dose has taken full effect before administering an additional drug increment when the intent is moderate sedation. Next, coming to deep sedation. Deep sedation is a drug-induced depression of consciousness during which the patients cannot be easily aroused but responds purposefully following repeated or painful stimulation. The ability to independently maintain respiratory function may be impaired. The patient may require assistance in maintaining the patent airway and spontaneous ventilation may be inadequate. Here, the cardiovascular function is usually maintained. Coming to general anesthesia, is a drug-induced loss of consciousness during which the patients are not aroused even by painful stimulation. The ability to independently maintain respiratory function is often impaired. Patients often require assistance in maintaining a patent airway and positive pressure ventilation may be required because of depressed spontaneous ventilation or drug-induced depression of neuromuscular function. The cardiovascular function may be impaired. Next, coming to clinical guidelines for minimal and moderate sedation. Start with patient evaluation, pre-operative preparation, personnel and equipment, monitoring and documentation, recovery and discharge. Start with patient evaluation. The patient must be evaluated to assess the current health status before any sedation procedure. This should include a determination of their ASA physical status. ASA is nothing but American Society of Anesthesiologists. According to ASA, that is American Society of Anesthesiologists, 1A is normal healthy patient. 2A is patient with mild systemic disease. Number 3 is patient with severe systemic disease. Mild systemic disease is borderline hypertension and borderline diabetes mellitus. Whereas in the case of severe systemic diseases, uncontrolled hypertension, uncontrolled diabetes mellitus will come under severe systemic disease. Coming to ASA 4A, patient is with severe systemic disease that is a constant threat to the life. Severe systemic diseases, example, liver disorders, bleeding disorders, and uncontrolled or very high hypertension and diabetes mellitus. Coming to 5A, morbid patient who is not expected to survive without operation. Cardiac failure patients will come under this category. ASA 6A declared brain dead patient whose organs are being removed for donor purpose. To start with, pre-operative preparation, the patient must be informed by the parent or guardian or caregiver in case of a minor. The patient should be informed about the planned procedure which is done under sedation, the benefits of procedure under sedation, the risk of procedure under sedation, and instructions for sedation. Always the informed consent for the proposed procedure and sedation must be obtained. All the vital signs should be recorded. Blood pressure, heart rate, respiratory rate, and oxygen saturation. The blood pressure is measured by sphygmomanometer. The heart rate, respiratory rate, oxygen saturation, all the three are measured with the help of pulse oximeter. In the pre-operative evaluation, you have to check for the airway clearance with the help of Mallampati airway classification and flexibility of the neck. Appearance and skin color is also evaluated. Alertness is evaluated. Exercise tolerance and ambulation is also evaluated. This is the Mallampati airway classification. There is 4 classification. Class 1, there is a wide space for the intubation, whereas there is a space is reduced in the case of class 2, very much reduced in the case of class 3, where you can find very difficulty in the case of intubation, where in the case of class 4, there is no space, very, very difficult or impossible for intubation. Coming to personnel and equipment, basic life support. Determination of adequate oxygen supply and equipment necessary to deliver oxygen under positive pressure must be completed. A positive pressure oxygen delivery system suitable for the patient being treated must be immediately available. An appropriate scavenging system must be available if gases other than oxygen or air are used. Whenever there is an inhalation equipment is used, it must have a fail-safe system should be available that should be appropriately checked and calibrated. The fail-safe system is means that whenever a equipment fails to deliver oxygen, there should be another equipment should deliver the oxygen to the patient. The equipment must also have either a functioning device that prohibits the delivery of less than 30% oxygen, an appropriate calibrated and functioning in-line oxygen analyzer with audible alarm. For moderate sedation, the equipment necessary to establish IV access must be available. The IV apparatus include catheter or butterfly needle, a IV drip line, a solution bag with a dextrose or normal saline, a tourniquet, and appropriate antiseptic and disinfectant. The top image shows the butterfly needle and the IV line. The second image shows the solution bag with the dextrose or normal saline. The last image shows the tourniquet and the antiseptic solutions. Coming to monitoring, the dentist or an appropriately trained individual directed by the dentist must remain in the operatory during active dental treatment with sedation to monitor the patient continuously until he or she meets the criteria for the discharge. The appropriately trained individual must be familiar with monitoring techniques and equipment. The monitoring equipment must include the sphygmomanometer, which checks the blood pressure, and positive pressure oxygen delivering system and suction. If inhalation sedation is used, fail-safe and scavenging system should be incorporated. In case of moderate sedation, pulse oximeter, equipment for IV access, and reversal agents for the drugs used must also be available. Suppose the patient is under benzodiazepine, the reversal agent for benzodiazepine is flumazenil, which should be readily available. The blood pressure and heart rate should be evaluated pre-operatively, post-operatively, and also intraoperatively as necessary in the case of minimal sedation. For moderate sedation, the dentist must continually evaluate blood pressure and heart rate. Continuous electrocardiogram, that is ECG, monitoring of the patient with significant cardiovascular disease should be considered. Coming to documentation. An appropriate time-oriented anesthetic record must be maintained with the names and dosages of all drugs administered, including local anesthetics, and monitored by physiological parameters, which includes blood pressure, pulse, and respiratory rate. In cases of moderate sedation, oxygen saturation must be monitored and recorded continuously with the help of pulse oximeter. Coming to recovery and discharge. There is a discharge criteria alertness. In that, the patient should be able to answer 3 simple questions. Patient have a normal breathing, circulation, movement or ambulation, and color. The 3 simple questions are: the patient should be able to answer who is driving you home, and patient should know where he is, and the patient should also know what the day is it. If the patient is not able to answer these simple questions, it is not a criteria for discharge. The patient should have normal breathing, oxygen saturation in room air, breathe deeply and cough, systolic blood pressure with 20% of baseline. Coming to ambulation and movement, the patient should be able to walk with minimal assistance. The patient should be having a normal skin color and appearance. There should not be any cyanosis or color change. Coming to observer's assessment of alertness or sedation, we have to check for responsiveness, speech, facial expression, and eyes. Coming to responses, the patient should be readily responds to any question in a normal tone. When the patient have a lethargic response, it's said to be a low responsive. Coming to speech, the speech should be normal. There should not be any slurring in the speech. Coming to facial expression, the expression should be normal. If the patient is said to be a marked relaxation in the facial expression, then it is a decrease in the discharge criteria. Coming to eyes, the eyes should be clear and there shouldn't be any ptosis. And coming at last, sedation failures. When performing outpatient mild or moderate sedation, the clinician must realize that sedation success will not be 100% effective for all patients. Certain percentage of patients will not respond appropriately to minimal or moderate sedation protocols. If a patient is not responding to sedation procedure, it is extremely hazardous to go beyond the dose limits or attempt to put the patient into deeper level of sedation. The best way is to stop the procedure or abort the procedure and reschedule the appointment for another day with a different technique or with a dental anesthesiologist. Whenever this chapter concept of sedation is asked as an essay, the examiner expects to write under these subheadings. Start with definition, levels of sedation, ASA classification, pre-operative evaluation, discharge criteria, and sedation failures. Thank you.